first time reading our scripts, but you are in for a very exciting afternoon. If you have any questions after we read each chapter, we're going to give you guys time to ask us questions or converse, and then we'll keep the evening or afternoon moving. So, there is a mystery afoot in the Big Easy. The crew of Midas King Pierre Dupree has been murdered, strangled with a set of Mardi Gras beads. It's time for all party revelers to put down their hurricane drinks and discover the truth about his demise. Pierre was always suspicious of those looking to sink their claws into his fortune. Was it the greed of those around him that put old Pierre in the grave? His beloved family members, friends, and neighbors have now become suspects in the Garden District murder. Put on your favorite masquerade mask and get your sleuthing mind ready. It's time to unveil a murderer.
Report. This is a police report of the murder. The victim, Pierre Dupree, was strangled with a set of antique Mardi Gras beads. The necklace was strung with metal wires, making it possible for the murderer to strangle the victim without the string of beads breaking. Mr. Dupree was discovered on the floor of the billiards room of the Dupree Chateau. Sprawled in front of a leather chair, a half-empty glass of brandy sat on the table next to the chair. Several seemingly synthetic features were scattered about the billiard room. There was no evidence of blood spatter on the victim or the crime scene. There was also no evidence of forced entry into the room. It may be assumed that the killer entered and left the billiards room through its only door. Here is Pierre's last signed will. I think you guys have that on your table as. Here's the will.
There's one per table. One police report per table. That's it.
So now we are going to introduce ourselves, the guest tonight.
I am Alexis Dupree. I'm the only child of Pierre Dupree and his late wife, Honey Dupree. Their wedding was one of the greatest society weddings in the history of New Orleans. Tragically, my mother passed away 10 years ago during plastic surgery. I'm also the reigning Magnolia Queen. My sorority sisters worked tirelessly to help me win the crown. I was also crowned Debutante of the Year by the Garden District Ladies League. I've truly led a charmed life. I've attended the finest private schools in New Orleans. I'm about to graduate with an art degree from the Dixie University. Go Crawfish!
I am Cayenne Pepper, the Dupree family live-in chef. Mr. Dupree and I met when I was working as a shucker at his favorite oyster bar in the French Quarter. He immediately offered me a job at Dupree Chateau, where I did odd jobs around the house and cooked snacks for him in the afternoon. He loved my cooking. Even back then, I knew how to turn up the heat. Mr. Dupree knew that I was a talented chef with unlimited potential, so he offered to pay my way through culinary school.
I'm sure none of you know who I am, because in this social circle, I don't even exist. In case any of you self-centered socialites care, I'm Bourbon Dupree, the illegitimate nephew of Pierre Dupree. My mother was a burlesque dancer in the French Quarter, and she had a love of the bottle. and showed it by naming me after her favorite liquor. She met Pierre's brother, Jean-Luc, and they fell madly in love. She gave birth to me, and Jean-Luc gave me his last name. My parents were engaged to be married when Jean-Luc mysteriously died at the Mardi Gras party at the Gras Chateau. Looks like death at these Mardi Gras parties is strangely commonplace. Anyway, he fell down a flight of stairs and broke his neck. My mother was left with nothing because she wasn't officially his wife. She died 6 months later, and after she drank too much and fell into the Mississippi River. I was sent to an orphanage and lived there until I was 18.
I'm Pierre's wife, Melissa Dupre. We've been married only 3 months. We met in Las Vegas during a slot machine tournament. I was working as a cocktail waitress in the high roller shot area. I accidentally tripped over his oxygen tank. I was horrified. But he was so sweet about the whole thing. He invited me to the 99-cent buffet when my shift was over. We spent the next 2 days having the time of our lives. Pierre fell hard and fast for me. Hey, who wouldn't though? We were married at a romantic chapel on the Vegas Strip 3 days after we met. I was going to be Pierre's queen at tonight's Mardi Gras ball. Even though Alexis has done a wonderful job as queen for the last 5 years, Pierre needed a wife beside him.
My name is Elise St. Gretsch. I'm the live-in maid at Dupree Chateau. My family has worked for the Dupree family for 3 generations. The Dupree and the St. Gretsch families traveled together from France and settled in New Orleans. I have always lived in the gatehouse over the garage at the back of the property. Pierre Dupree was so kind and would let me in on some of his most interesting secrets. Recently, he informed me that he won a necklace in an online auction. He told me he planned to give it to Melissa tonight at the ball. Why he would give that beautiful necklace to Melissa is beyond me.
My name is Matthew Gator Krovitz, and I'm Alexa Dupree's fiancé. Everyone who knows me calls me Gator because I grew up on the Bayou St. John. My family is 100% proud Cajun. We catch alligators, make sausage, and sell the hides. We are hardworking, honest people. Speaking of honesty, I don't feel comfortable at these fancy parties. I worked my butt off to get a scholarship to the Dixie University Law School. Go crawfish. I'm going to take the bar exam next month.
I'm sure you already know, but I'm the internationally famous author Kanika Gothica. My Legion of the Doomed series of books has made me a multi-millionaire. Despite the objections of some of the elderly members of the crew of Midas, I was invited to join the crew 10 years ago. They wanted the biggest celebrity in the Garden District to serve, and of course, that happens to be me. I know they're using me, but I'm using them too. Membership in the crew of Midas has already opened many doors for me that money couldn't buy. Nobody snubs Hanukkah now. Woohoo!
Don't mess with her.
Good evening. I am J. Stephen Peake, Esquire, Monsieur, Dupree's personal attorney and best friend. I'm also our darling Alexis' godfather. Her late mother, God rest her soul, was my second cousin. I lived down the street at Peake Mansion. Pierre was my only client. I feel though I lost a brother. I couldn't have asked for a better client or friend. This is devastating. I need a drink. When I'm not not tending to the extensive legal affairs of the Dupre family, I am busy overseeing the restoration of my magnificent Garden District mansion. It's my life's dream to restore Peak Mansion to its former glory before those damn Yankees invaded the South. Do you guys have any questions for any of us?
This is horrible. I can't believe someone murdered my daddy. I'm just at the most exciting stage of my life, and all of a sudden I'm an orphan. I vow to find my daddy's killer and make sure that person pays.
Good job.
The day I graduated from the Dixie Culinary Institute was the proudest day of my life. Mr. Dupre was like a father to me. I owe him everything. Naturally, I turned to work at Dupre Chateau as the family chef. In my spare time, once I star in a highly successful cable access TV show, Turn Up the Heat. In fact, it's such a successful show, a major television network wants to produce it.
In case your heads are too full of thoughts of money and social lives, to realize where I fit in the picture tonight, I'm here because my jazz band was hired to entertain you lazy rich monkeys. Uncle Pierre has no idea I was a member of the band. In fact, I think that man knew anything about my life recently. I am the dirty little secret of the French Quarter of the Dupre family. I realized I couldn't wait to see the look on his face when I told him my name. He would have killed over on the spot.
Pierre was the love of my life. I can't believe he's gone. What am I supposed to do without him? Even worse, this evening was supposed to be my triumph as queen of the crew of Midas, and it's ruined. Now I'll never be queen. I'm too upset to even talk. Can we talk tomorrow? I need a drink.
I can't believe Mr. Dupree is dead. He was so good to me. This is the only home I've ever known. Without Mr. Dupree, I don't know what I will do. I can only hope and pray that Alexis will continue to employ me at Dupre Chateau.
I came to this party to ask Mr. Dupree for his blessing. Alexis and I are in love and we want to get married. We're devastated that her daddy won't be around to walk her down the aisle. Don't worry, sugar. I'm sure my daddy will be happy to do it. We'll buy him a new pair of overalls and some boots. He cleans up real nice. Even though I'm engaged to an heiress, I still have to work on the weekends as a swamp tour guide. I have a full scholarship, but I still need plenty of cash to take Alexis out to those fancy restaurants she likes. Just because she fell in love with the boy from the bayou doesn't mean she's ready to give up her princess lifestyle. You should see the 3-carat diamond platinum engagement ring she wants. It cost $25,000. Do you know how many pounds of alligator sausage I need to sell to make that kind of money?
My stardom has shot me into the highest levels of popularity. Even better, I'm part of the Louisiana elite. I'm invited to parties attended by the most influential people in the state. I also attend a few Hollywood parties every year. Celebrities love my books. Movie producers are fighting over the rights to my novels as we speak. Who wouldn't want my life? Pierre was just jealous of my status here. While I have devoted fans, he just had devoted enemies.
Pierre Dupre kept me very busy with his complicated legal affairs. He was always suing or threatening to sue somebody. He also changed his will frequently. Every time he had an argument with a family member, he would call me to draft in a new will and disinherit that person. It was exhausting. I don't know what I would have done if I wasn't being paid by the hour. A wealthy client with a short temper and a volatile family is a lawyer's dream come true.
Do you guys have any questions? So that was chapter 1. Do you guys have any questions that you can ask or want to ask?
We all have extra info.
Sure. For the attorney, she's got a question for you.
How much money do you need to finish your mansion down in the war race?
Repeat the question.
No, you were
He is paid by the hour.
She wants to know how much my mansion will cost to overhaul. Let's see, I gotta look this up. Let me thumb through my financials right here, okay? I'm desperate for cash. The remodeling costs of the Peak Mansion are out of control. I am about $500,000 over the original contractor's estimate.
Holy crap.
I won't buy anything but the best for Peak Mansion. Under my guidance, it will be known as the Jewel of Garden District. Yeah. And the party's gonna be at my place. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Green.
For Gator.
Gator.
Excuse me? What was the question?
How much do you charge for a pound of gator sausage?
Well, let's see. A pound of gator would probably be, I'm guessing, let's go $10 a pound.
You guys will not be having that for lunch tomorrow.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
We'll also be having live gator at my mansion too. This guy.
We can ask questions.
Some facts about me. The day I graduated from the Dixie Culinary Institute was the proudest day of my life. Oh, I already heard this one. Never mind.
She just wanted you guys to know how proud she was.
Yes.
Or he. Kanye. Never mind.
It's merely light that's causing me a problem. I've never met my cousin Alexis or my aunt Melissa. Even though the Dupre family wanted nothing to do with me, I kept up with them in the society columns of the High Society News. I was touched by the whirlwind marriage of Aunt Melissa to my Uncle Pierre. What a beautiful love story it was. This was one of the most recent news articles that I clipped out about Uncle Pierre and Melissa. It gave me a laugh. I knew the high society parties would be fun, but I had no idea how much. The Millionaire and His Waitress. The society debut of Melissa Dupre was the most entertaining dinner party I've attended in years. Dupre Chateau was buzzing with the Garden District's most important residents. Pierre Dupre was as handsome and charming as ever. He was beaming with pride as his bride approached the staircase for her, for her grand entrance. Apparently, Mrs. Melissa Dupre changed her gown at the last minute. Pierre was shocked and horrified at as the rest of his guests were. When Mrs. Dupre descended from the staircase in a horrific gown that wouldn't let my poodle sleep on, the spandex mermaid-style dress made her look like a character from a Dr. Seuss story. And don't even ask me about the 5-inch platform heels that she must have borrowed from a Bourbon street stripper. Mrs. Dupre has a lovely figure, but her taste in clothing resembles a Vegas streetwalker more than the wife of a distinguished millionaire. Poor Pierre, he would have brought an empty wallet home from Vegas like everybody else does.
We're gonna fight.
An envelope arrived by messenger this afternoon. The messenger must have been celebrating Mardi Gras all morning because he seemed pretty drunk already. The envelope was addressed to Conica, but he delivered it to Dupre Chateau by mistake. He was probably scared off by that group of freaks she calls the fan club. They are always hanging around on her sidewalk. Clue 2. Dear Miss Gothica, I hope these plans are what you have envisioned for the Dupre Chateau renovation project. As we discussed in our earlier meeting, renovations for your project should take approximately 1 year. We are ready to begin as soon as you acquire the property. Please let me know when you are ready to move forward with your plans. Sincerely yours, Vinnie Princeman, the chief architect. I wonder what my father would have said if he knew about your plans for Dupre Chateau, Conica. I was going to show him this tonight after the party, but someone murdered my daddy.
Hanukkah. Does it say respond to her?
I may have hated that egotistical man, but how this mansion looks affects all of us in the Garden District. Those plans were going straight to Pierre. I had some wonderful ideas to liven up his chateau, and I wanted to show him. He deserved only the best, child, and I thought I could make that happen for him.
She went to respond to something.
Conica must be thrilled that Pierre Dupre is dead. She can finally host the crew of Midas Mardi Gras Ball next year. Ever since we threw her a bone and invited her to join the crew of Midas, she's been plotting to get Pierre ousted as our king and become the first ruling queen. She's always been that jealous type. She made such sad attempts to lure us to her husband, to her refurbished ballroom for this year's ball. In fact, they were just pathetic. Did you really think that spending $1 million on remodeling ballroom would buy our loyalty? Conica was also involved in an online bidding war with Pierre over the antique Mardi Gras beads, the same ones that she strangled her with. That he. Conica was also involved in an online bidding war with Pierre with his antique Mardi Gras beads, the same ones he was strangled with. Sorry, I misread that. You must have been furious when he won the auction, Conica. when you were hoping to wear them when you were crowned Queen of the Crew of Midas. You are delusional. We all know Pierre was planning to give the beads to Melissa tonight at the ball.
A couple of things I have to respond to here. Yes, I wanted that necklace. I love jewelry, and I was quite upset after I lost the auction. Still, do you really think that I would kill Pierre over a lost online auction? That's ridiculous. I'm a millionaire. And it's true, I couldn't be happier that Pierre Dupree is out of the picture. He was a rotten neighbor, and I can't wait to buy his property. I have plans to buy Dupree Chateau and turn it into a bed and breakfast for my fans. I've already consulted an architect, and I've been trying desperately to have the Crew of Midas Ball moved to my mansion. I've spent several $1 million renovating my ballroom in order to impress the crew, but still, the ball's venue has remained unchanged. It's always at Dupree Chateau. Pierre would never allow the Crew of Midas Ball to be moved while he was alive. Finally, I can own his property, give my fans a place to stay, and have the Crew of Midas Ball moved to my mansion. Life for me, honestly, couldn't get any better.
I overheard an interesting conversation between Mr. Dupree and Gator at about 6 p.m. Gator found Monsieur Dupree at the billiard room smoking his cigar and enjoying a warm brandy. While I was next door in the library cleaning, I heard Monsieur Dupree screaming and throwing things. Naturally, I was concerned. I stopped what I was doing and rushed to the entrance of the billiard room. I put my ear to the door. I put my ear to the door to make sure that Monsieur Dupree wasn't in danger. I heard Monsieur Dupree tell Gator, "I'll be dead in my grave before I allow Cajun swamp trash to marry into my family." Now get the hell out of here. He blasted the door and broke into pieces. When I checked on Monsieur Dupree, he asked for another glass of brandy. I poured it for him, and he asked me to leave him alone.
Yes, I was in the library having quite the discussion with Pierre. I tried talking to him in a sensible manner, begging him for his blessing of me and Alexa's marriage. But he kept bad-mouthing me. He didn't think I was good enough for his little girl. I had to tell him just to be heard. Finally, I gave up and left. Cayenne sure is a strange character. A few days ago, I came over to pick up Alexis. Cayenne was making gumbo, so of course I went to the pot to have me a taste. I noticed some strange bottles on the counter beside the pot. Cayenne started cursing at me, knocking the spoon out of my hand, and told me to get the hell out of the kitchen. He's so dramatic. This piece of paper fell out of Cayenne's cooking notes on the counter. I picked it up and haven't had a chance to give it back to him yet. Here's what it read. Monsieur Pierre, I am writing this letter to you from my deathbed. The doctors tell me that I don't have much longer to live. As my dying wish, I beg you to claim our child as a Dupree and raise her as our own. It is my hope that someday you can love her as you love. Even though our affair was brief, I am thankful that we remain civil with each other. Our daughter shouldn't suffer for our mistakes. She is an innocent child.
I gave that letter to Cayenne to hold on to. Fifi is my mother, and I recently found out that Pierre Dupree is my father. I confided in Cayenne and asked him to watch that letter closely to make sure no one found out about it.
That grimy swamp thing was sticking his dirty fingers in my gumbo. Gator, I all of a sudden have a southern accent. I don't know why. I don't appreciate people coming into my kitchen and tasting my culinary creations without permission. Of course, that comes as no surprise. Only a low-class swamp rat like you would disrespect my wishes. And yes, sometimes Pierre did request some special ingredients meant just for him. He liked me to disguise his worst-tasting medications by putting them in his food.
This morning, I was about to take our Dobermans, Rex and Cookie, for a walk. When I opened the front door, there was a pile of salt shaped like a cross on our doorstep. I told Pierre about it, but he said it was just a prank and not to worry about it. But he said, but how could I not worry? Especially after Elise said it was voodoo, and she carried a crucifix around with her for the rest of the day. Alexis, I noticed you reading a book on voodoo earlier. Do you know anything about it?
Yes, I put salt cross on the doorstep. I wanted to scare you. I hoped maybe it'd spook you enough you'd leave town. Daddy and I didn't need you around.
That was good.
The last few weeks have been hard. Pierre was having stomach problems and his doctor was out every other day. I told him to stop eating the rich food that Cayenne made for him, but of course, he didn't listen. He probably had gout. I'm on a strict low-carb diet, and now I'm beginning to wish Pierre had joined me on it and taken better care of himself. His last days could have been much happier. I don't know if this will help, but I found this in the bedroom the other night. It says, Old South renovations will bring your mansion back to life. Dear Mr. Peak, enclosed are this week's expenses for Peak Mansion. As I told you on the phone, we discovered serious structural damage that was not evident to us when we performed our initial inspection. These major structural repairs will cost approximately $300,000 in additional to the original proposal for $250,000. Please be assured that we are doing our best to keep your costs under control. When we are finished with your project, Peak Mansion will be the finest showplace in the Garden District. Sincerely, Jerry Simmons.
Well, of course I'm getting my mansion renovated. I'm concerned for the reputation and well-being of this district. And it's important for my mansion to look beautiful.
Does anybody have any questions for that chapter? That concludes chapter 2. Any questions for any of the characters? Because we can reveal stuff if you guys ask the right questions.
Who did it?
Well, then
So don't ask who did it.
We don't even know until
That was a question.
It was.
only the one who did it knows. So, okay, we're gonna move on to chapter 3.
I didn't read ahead.
Someone is out to get me. My Mardi Gras ball gown was slashed to pieces. Who would ruin such a gorgeous gown? My daddy spent good money on it, and I had to call my favorite designer and have a new gown sent from New York City. I realized the competition for Magnolia Queen was especially brutal this year, but I never dreamed my rivals would be such sore losers. I'm really afraid. What if someone meant to kill me and my darling father got in the way? I could be the next victim.
You all might be interested to know that Kanaka offered me $10,000 to infect my gumbo with food poisoning for tonight's ball. She said that one of her fans is a biologist and has access to deadly viruses. She wanted to humiliate Pierre and convince the crew de Midas to move to Mardi Gras ball to her mansion next year. To move it to her mansion next year. The sure sign of a desperate woman. Of course I refused. My reputation is more valuable to me than any amount of money.
Yes, I offered the money to Cayenne. It was a little different than that, though. I thought a case of explosive diarrhea might tarnish Pierre's image as the perfect host. That doesn't mean I wanted to kill him. My intentions were to embarrass him. That's it.
I returned to the library 10 minutes after Gator's argument with Monsieur Dupree. I didn't enter as Alexis was in there, fighting with her daddy. She was shouting and crying. I heard her say, "I'm going to take my trust fund and run away with Gator. You and your Vegas tramp can rot in this house." Then Monsieur Dupree told Alexis, "You can marry Gator if you like, but you won't leave this house with a penny for me." And he told her that he was changing his will first thing in the morning. If Alexis ever married Gator, she would receive nothing. Alexis was so upset she knocked the feather duster out of my hand when she stormed past me in the hallway. She has a terrible temper and a short fuse. I honestly believe she is dabbling in voodoo. This family is teetering on the brink of hell.
Well, it looks like our sweet maid does more than just clean. I find it hard to believe you were checking on my daddy. Regardless, I'm his daughter, and I'm entitled to fight with him. I know he didn't approve of Gator. I was only trying to convince him otherwise, you nosy nitwit. I wouldn't be surprised if you were the one who slapped that beautiful dress.
I shredded your ball gown, you brat. For years I watched Pierre spoil you rotten and give you everything you want. I'm a Dupree too. I should be living the high life. I deserve everything you have.
This district is full of drama, scandals, and hatred. How coincidental that an author is in the middle of things. I've read all of Kanaka's novels, and I'm a huge fan. But in the book 2 of her Legion of Doomed series, the Garden District millionaire is found strangled with a strand of vintage Mardi Gras beads. Isn't that interesting? I was helping the band unload their equipment when we arrived earlier this evening. The chef and maid Frenchie here were going at it in the trash cans. Does anybody else here know about employee benefits?
So courageous.
About the book. That is a coincidence. It means nothing. I'm a fiction writer. The characters and the plots in my stories are purely made up. Maybe someone planned to murder Pierre in that manner in order to frame me.
Hey Cayenne, aren't you going to tell everyone about the big magazine article that's coming out about you next month? There was a food reporter here last week. I came inside to drop off some alligator jerky for Mr. Dupree. This fancy cooking writer asked me for a taste. He loved it. He asked me about my family's sausage business and wanted to come out to the swamp and take our picture. I'm sorry I stole your thunder, Cayenne. I know you were real mad about that.
As usual, Gator was hanging around my kitchen uninvited. Of course, I still made the cover of the magazine. Why wouldn't I? The magazine reporter was just being polite to you. He didn't even like your alligator jerky.
You don't have a response, right?
Even though there was a 50 difference between us, Pierre and I were madly in love. I know that I have father figure issues. My daddy left me and my mama in a trailer park in Reno when I was a baby. I've never had a man love me and care for me like Pierre did. It reminded me of the movie Pretty Woman. I had to pinch myself every morning because my life here was like a dream.
Well, I'm not buying any of that buying Melissa's devoted wife act, and neither should any of you. Last week she called me at 10 p.m. and asked me to come over ASAP. She told me to bring my briefcase and my notary stamp. I knew something important was going on. I arrived to a horrific scene. Melissa answered the door in a feathered black negligee with matching heels. She told me to bring my briefcase up to the master suite. When I opened the door, I found Pierre handcuffed to his antique bed. He was drunk and nearly passed out. There was empty whipped cream cans and chocolate syrup bottles on the floor. After I finally got over my initial shock, Melissa showed me a new will that named her as the sole beneficiary of Pierre's entire estate. She took the handcuffs off Pierre and asked him to sign the will. I knew Pierre wasn't in the right mind to sign any papers. I told Pierre to sober up, and we talked the next day in my office without Melissa and her bag of tricks influencing him. You're a real piece of work, lady.
I've got a response.
I'll bet you do.
I
So first off, what goes on in a bedroom between two consenting adults is private. Pierre was drunk with passion. He wanted to surprise me with his plans to change his will. He loved me. As his wife, why shouldn't I have everything? I know most of you here think that I only married Pierre for his millions, but I truly loved him. I can't believe he's dead. My sugar daddy is dead.
That was gross.
I ordered a glass of Merlot at the bar tonight. Well, it was no surprise to me that the wine Pierre serves tasted like swill. Pierre's never been great at selecting wine. I searched the room for a plant to pour my drink into and found a mask and a black cape hidden in the corner behind the potted palms. Why would someone throw away a costume at a masquerade ball? That doesn't make any sense. A while ago, Pierre came by to once again complain about my adoring fans. After our brief and heated discussion, he abruptly left, and this letter fell out of his pocket. Why would he be carrying this note around? Dear Mr. Dupree, congratulations on your acceptance into our School of Performance. You are one of only 100 applicants chosen out of 10,000 aspiring musicians. Please send your $5,000 tuition deposit as soon as possible. This will ensure that you have on-campus housing and will also secure your placement in our freshman class. We look forward to meeting you soon and helping you begin a promising career as a professional musician. Best regards, Roger Townsend, Office of Admissions.
Obviously, I'm the only one of you corrupt idiots with any musical talent. Of course, the letter belongs to me. Pierre was my anonymous benefactor while I was growing up in the orphanage. When he learned I wanted to pursue music career, he arranged for me to attend Dixie University, but insisted that his involvement remain a secret. When I got into the New York Conservatory of Music, they not only sent me an acceptance letter, but Pierre received a notice as well. When I insisted on attending school in New York, he came out of the shadows and revealed his true identity and disowned me. I was never able to attend college as a result.
Here's another thing I witnessed. I was in the kitchen earlier tonight. Cayenne had a recipe folder out on the counter. Good thing I didn't eat any of that food. I couldn't help but sneak a peek at his latest culinary masterpiece. In the folder, I found this, if I can get it there, I found this old contract. Looks like Cayenne was pretty much chained to the Dupree Chateau while Pierre was still alive. So this is a contract of employment. It says, I am eternally grateful for Pierre Dupre's generosity in exchange for Mr. Dupre paying all my expenses and obtaining my Master Chef degree at the Dixie Culinary Institute. I agreed to work as a Dupre family chef for 10 years, so I am multi-talented here. This contract may only be terminated early by Pierre Dupre. The contract will also be terminated if Pierre Dupre dies before the 10 years expires. And Cayenne signed it, I signed it, Pierre signed it, and Alexis Dupre signed it too, so I'm pretty good here.
Questions for the chef?
Okay, that concludes chapter 3. Do you guys have any questions for anybody? The chef? Anybody?
Maybe about how long the show has been. When was the 10 years up on the contract?
She asked, when was the 10 years up on the contract?
Just for 10 years, it looks like. I don't see any dates on there.
For a lawyer, I want you to figure it out.
The lawyer can't answer that.
A date would be great. Zero dates.
You guys need to see this at all.
No questions about the whipped cream. That was weird.
All right, we'll move along to chapter 4.
17. I'm joking, maybe. It looks like this is the last chapter. Yeah.
All right, so this is chapter 4. If nobody has any questions? Okay. Madame Dupree was anything but a devoted newlywed. Last week, I was walking by the master suite and I heard the water running. It was too early for Madame Dupree to run her bath water, so I went to make sure she hadn't left it on by mistake. I saw Madame Dupree emptying Monsieur Dupree's Viagra pills down the drain. And I found this postcard while I was going through the mail last week. I put it in my apron pocket. I was going to show it to Monsieur Dupree, but Madame Dupree hasn't left him alone long enough to give me a chance to show it to him. Every time he takes a nap, she's checking his pulse. This postcard says, Melissa, I need $10,000 this month. Pay up or the old geezer finds out about everything. I'm coming to New Orleans to pick up my money in person. See you soon, baby.
Okay, so after I married Pierre, I started giving money to a Vegas friend of mine, Wayne. It wasn't supposed to be forever. I just so he could get back on his feet. I started pawning my jewelry because I didn't want to ask Pierre for money. Anyway, I guess word spread among my Vegas friends that I married rich and Wayne has gone completely out of control. He's requesting obscene amounts of money. He's gotten so greedy. Now he's coming to New Orleans to collect. Oh, should I read that? Yeah, go ahead.
It's no secret that I've had a hard time fitting in here. The old hens of the Garden District Ladies League won't invite me to their luncheons. They treat me like garbage. I don't know what their fear could be, aside from my younger age and fantastic looks. Pierre hired a personal stylist to take me shopping. You should have seen what she wanted me to wear. I looked like a frumpy grandma. I fired her and went to the mall by myself.
I'm wondering when Kanako is going to tell everybody about her true feelings for Pierre. Just 5 years ago, she and Pierre had a passionate affair. There was even talk of a wedding. When Pierre had a drunken one-night stand with a transvestite burlesque dancer, Kanako was furious and dumped Pierre. They hated each other ever since. Why is it that people can't seem to respect my kitchen? Just this morning, Mr. J. Stephen Peake came to visit Pierre, and he left his briefcase on the counter while he used the bathroom. When I moved it off my workspace, this paper fell out. Now seems like an appropriate time to return it to him and ask for an explanation. Mr. Peake, why are you signing checks to yourself? Here is a check. Paid to the order of Stephen Peake for $150,000.
Pierre gave me advance on my paycheck, you know. I needed the money. I told him I was doing some work on my mansion. Pierre and I were best friends. He wouldn't have done anything to help. He would have done anything to help me out. Not like it's any of your business. Stick to cooking, Cayenne, and stay out of my finances.
It's true. Years ago, I was in love with Pierre Dupree. We were planning to get married, but he cheated on me. When I found out about his drunken one-night stand, I was devastated. I finally opened my heart to a mortal man, and he stomped on it. Pierre blamed his indiscretion on one too many hurricanes at Pat O'Brien's, but how could he be too drunk to realize the stripper was really a man? It was the ultimate betrayal. Since then, I've only been involved in meaningless flings with my young, handsome fans who are totally devoted to me.
Kanako would have been a great stepmother. We have much more in common than me and Melissa. I'm sorry Daddy treated you so badly. You always knew he was a little freaky after a few hurricanes. When Daddy partied, he partied hard.
Last week, Gator came to visit me at my mansion. He told me about his love for our darling Alexis. Gator was desperate to marry her, but he knew that Pierre would put up one hell of a fight over a boy from the bayou marrying our little princess. Gator informed me that he was about to graduate at the top of his law school class. He asked me to take him on as an associate in my law firm in the hope that Pierre would then accept him into the family. I couldn't help but laugh. Why would you want to help out that boy? One thing I hate almost as much as Yankees is Cajun swamp trash. Alexis, how can you shame your family this way? You need to marry a good Southern boy from your own social class. That swamp rat isn't good enough for you, honey.
Mr. Peake, I still think I would be wonderful working at your firm. I'm a hard worker. I could bring some Cajun style into that stuffy, elite Louisiana lawyer office of yours. I think Pierre would have been pleased to see me work with such a favorite of his. Plus, he would have had no problems letting me into the family if I had your law firm on my resume.
Okay, that concludes chapter 4, which is the last chapter. Do you guys have any questions for any of the characters? Think hard. So think who had a motive, who had a reason to kill the victim, who may have had access to the murder weapon, and who would have had a chance to kill him, who would have had an opportunity. So look over your notes and think about it. Okay, we're gonna give you guys a couple more clues, and then after that, I'm gonna go around and you guys can raise your hand and tell us who you think was the murderer. I hate my stepmother. I know my father had better taste than that Vegas showgirl trash. I want that rotten gold digger out of my life.
So I had extra clues in mine too, but they were kind of revealed throughout the dialogue. So mine was, I'm having a secret affair with Cayenne. He detests the Dupree family almost as much as I do, but he adores me. Pierre Dupree has a strict rule against employees dating each other, of course, but that hasn't stopped our heated love affair. And the next one is, I recently discovered that Pierre Dupree is my father. I was cleaning the attic and found a box of letters from my mother, Fifi. I hired an attorney to begin a paternity suit against Dupree, forcing him to give me the financial support he never paid my mother. Cayenne now has my mother's letter. Since he's my lover, we share everything together. We plan to share my piece of the Dupree fortune.
I was slowly poisoning Pierre Dupree. Killing him was the only way I saw out of this long-term enslavement he called a contract. This was my chance to take me to my Turn Up the Heat TV show national that I can't waste any more time getting to. I refused to have an old, stubborn man mess it up for me. At Pierre's age, I knew it wouldn't raise any suspicions if he died in his sleep. Melissa is on a low-carb diet, so it was easy for me to keep their foods separated. Turns out I didn't need to bother. Someone else took care of it for me. I'm having a secret romance with Elise St. Gresh. She is a beautiful girl and loves to have fun. She also hates Dupree almost as much as I do. We have so much in common. She confided to me that Dupree is her father. So we are plotting to sue for her piece of the Dupree fortune and spend it together.
So my dirty little secret is the only thing I loved about Pierre was his money. Marrying a rich man in his 80s seemed like the perfect way out of my miserable life in Las Vegas. The fact that I am still married to my first husband, Wayne, didn't keep me from marrying Pierre and starting a new life in New Orleans. Wayne was serving 10 years for robbery at a state prison in Nevada when I married Pierre, but he received early parole a month after our wedding date. When Wayne was released from prison, he returned to the trailer park where I used to live and tracked me down by questioning the neighbors. From their information, Wayne got on a computer and learned of my new life here in New Orleans. Wayne is blackmailing me. He said that if I didn't pay him, he was going to tell Pierre that I was a bigamist and send me to jail. I had to keep Wayne quiet or I could lose everything. So I pawned my jewelry to pay off Wayne. Pierre became very suspicious of my spending habits and put Stephen in charge of tracking my expenses. He even made me save receipts. I told Pierre that I was a shopping addict to keep my lie under wraps.
Well, I talked to Mr. Dupree earlier tonight. He was in the billiards room having a drink and smoking a cigar. I assured him that I would make his little girl happy and take care of her for the rest of her life. But when I asked Pierre for his permission to marry Alexis, he went berserk. Dupree said he'd never let swamp trash marry into his family. He hit me with his cane, and he told me to get the hell out of his house. Alexis caught me as I was heading for the front door. She begged me to wait for her a while she talked to her daddy. I got a beer at the bar and waited in the back garden. About 10 minutes later, she came out crying, saying that her daddy was too upset to talk about it right now. So we sat in the back garden and tried to figure things out.
So as you all know, I am desperate for cash. The remodeling costs of the Peak Mansion are out of control. I'm about $500,000 over the original contractor's estimate. I won't buy anything but the best for Peak Mansion. And it's gonna be a party place to be. Oh yeah.
Pierre secretly paid for my care at the orphanage and received regular updates on me from the nuns there. I had no idea that I was related to the Dupree family of New Orleans. But when I made a fatal faux pas of asking the anonymous benefactor for his help in attending the New York Conservatory of Music, he disowned me via letter signed with his name for the very first time, his real name, informing me that he would never pay for a Yankee music school over Dixie University. He told me he never to contact him again. I wasn't able to afford college on my own. Instead, I had to study music on the streets of the French Quarter. I scraped by for years playing jazz to the tourists for tips. I've been waiting 25 years to get even with Pierre Dupré. I hold him responsible for my mother's early death and my lost dreams of going to the New York Conservatory. I knew that the masked ball with my band providing music was the perfect opportunity for murder. I could blend in with all the guests in my disguise, murder Pierre, and return to the stage to perform. I had planned the perfect crime, and it would allow me to claim my dead father's fortune. But somebody got to Pierre first.
Okay, raise your hands. Who has some ideas or theories? Who thinks they know who the murderer is? Don't be shy. Melissa? Okay.
Rude. Did she get all the money?
Yep, okay, so Maggie thinks it's Melissa because she'd get all the money. Anybody else have any theories? Yep. Kanika? Why do you think Kanika? Anything in particular that...
She's kind of revealed herself.
Okay.
And she looks the part.
Dick, who do you think it is? Stephen?
Need the money.
Needs the money. Okay, so far we've got Melissa, Kanika, and Stephen. Does anybody else have any ideas who it might be?
The cooking lady.
Elise? Who do you think, Mary Jane?
The two ladies that have their affair.
Relationship? So that'd be Kanika and Cayenne.
Not Hanukkah, I'm Elise.
Oh.
The maid and the cook.
Okay.
You're my sister, you don't even know my name. My illegitimate sister.
Yeah. Any other ideas before we, so then we're gonna go through and read one
I
last.
think Gator.
Gator?
He was to marry Alexis.
Marry me?
He hit him.
I think it was the obvious.
He hit me with his cane.
Well, so,
Bourbon?
Herman's ready to fight. She goes, I don't think I'm smart enough.
I was looking at the police report, and the last will and testament that they have here says, to my dear friend Stephen Peak, I leave $1 million. He will remain my executor and oversee my financial affairs. To my household staff, I leave $10,000 each.
Oh, geez.
To my beloved daughter Alexis, I leave the entire estate, including Dupree Chateau. To my wife Melissa, I leave $25,000 and a one-way ticket, coach class, back to Las Vegas.
I would now.
I know she only married me for my money, but I still had a great time. I especially enjoyed her many attempts to persuade me to change my will and leave her all my money. It was the best time of my life.
At least have a good time. Okay.
So there should be one of these at every table.
Okay, so everybody has a theory. The only one who wasn't accused was myself, right?
I think it's you. No, I accused you.
You think it's me? Okay, so now we're gonna go through and we have one last thing to read. Anybody else have any theories or anything they want to ask or say?
Want to bet some money on it? Yes, I do, apparently.
Okay.
So these are the solutions.
Yeah.
Slime solution ones.
Well, even from the grave, Daddy is trying to manipulate me and ruin my life. Now I find out about my secret half-sister Elise, which hasn't been confirmed by a DNA test, might I remind you all. But I will have the last laugh. Daddy didn't have time to cut me out of his will after hearing of my plans to marry Gator. So I get all the money and my swamp lover, the best of both worlds. Gator is in for an extreme makeover, and we are going to be royalty in this town. I'm grateful to the murderer in this room. The killer saved me from a life of poverty in a swamp shack with Gator. No offense, honey.
Sausage, though.
I'll send the murderer pralines and soap on a rope to improve jail life.
Number two was Cayenne. Cayenne had to leave. I don't know where he had to go, but
Probably because
he didn't tell me. So, solution number two is cayenne pepper. And it says, I was poisoning. Oh, she did read this.
Oh.
No,
No, it says it in the background, too.
Oh, okay. I was poisoning Pierre Dupree, but I did not murder him. I was hoping his death would be a slow and painful one, just like my employment here. I can't get anything accomplished in my kitchen anymore. This house is like Grand Central Station. My destiny is to be a famous TV chef, and that greedy man was keeping me from following my dream. I cannot serve one family. I must share my talents with the world.
Nope.
With the old man dead now, I'm free from my contract, and the network will finally produce my cooking show. Turn up the heat. Even better, Elise and I can begin our new life together. With my new TV network contract and her Dupree inheritance, we will be filthy rich. Our lives will be perfect. I can't wait to get out of this town and away from all you spoiled people. I just want to let all of you know that I've been spitting in your food for the last 5 years.
So you guys aren't going to let her work in the kitchen?
Yes, I'm glad Pierre Dupree is dead. Who here isn't? He robbed me of my childhood and my birthright as a Dupree. I should be living in the mansion with my family, receiving the best of everything. Instead, I had to hustle for spare change on the Bourbon Street, playing for tourists. Do you know how humiliating it is for me to play with a shoebox in front of me while collecting tips? I had to compete with those tap dancers with the bottle caps on their shoes. They always got the best corners. Gangs of them beat me up regularly, but I never gave up my dreams of being a great jazz musician. I won't lie, I came here tonight to kill Pierre Dupree. My plan was simple and perfect. I knew I would easily disguise myself kill Pierre and slip back in the ballroom to play another set of music. The only thing I didn't count on was someone else killing Pierre first. When I entered the room, the old man was already dead. Naturally, I got the hell out of there. I didn't want anyone to think that I had something to do with the old geezer's death. I took off my costume in the downstairs bathroom and threw it in one of the Pierre's potted plants. I had no idea Kanika would be digging around in there.
Sounds like her.
Who digs in potted plants anyway? Unless they're hiding something themselves. Well, it doesn't matter. I didn't do anything illegal, and I can finally claim my father's fortune and move to New York to pursue my dream.
As I said all along, I married Pierre for love. I love dead presidents. I don't understand that line.
It's the Bills.
Okay, that makes sense.
That made no sense. Brady didn't say anything.
Okay. It doesn't take a woman like me to realize that a man in his 80s doesn't have too many years left to live. I knew that a fatty Cajun diet and a Viagra prescription would speed things along. I knew that if I was a good wife to Pierre, I could enjoy Pierre's money if he was dead or alive. My rotten husband, Wayne, threw a wrench in my plans with his blackmail scheme. I spent most of my allowance paying Wayne off. My plan was to play it cool and convince Pierre to change his will and leave me everything. Unfortunately, somebody killed the old geezer before I could do that. It's the story of my life. I just can't seem to get out of the trailer park, no matter how hard I try.
Solution number 5 is Elise, the maid. It says, I plan to take Pierre to court and win millions. A successful paternity suit will make me rich. I didn't need to murder Pierre Dupree to get the fortune that I'm entitled to. That money is my birthright and belongs to me just as much as it belongs to Alexis. Even though I had plenty of opportunities to kill the old man, I didn't. That should put me ahead of the rest of these attempted murderers, right? You haven't heard the last of me, Alexis. I will get my money. You'll see, sister. Cayenne and I will destroy this family and get the money that belongs to moi.
Yeah.
Alexis is my true love. I would never jeopardize my chance to marry her and live out the rest of my life with her. I never dreamed that I would marry the Dixie University Magnolia Queen and join one of the richest families in New Orleans. I knew that I'd always find a way to support Alexis and keep her happy. I just didn't think it would be this way. With Pierre dead and his original will still valid, Alexis and I can move into the Dupree Chateau and live like royalty. I can't wait to build a wing onto the back of Dupree's Chateau and move in the rest of my family. My 20 cousins and 10 aunts and uncles are going to fit right in. Of course, my mama and daddy will live in the main house with us. The Krovitz family is going to bring the Chateau district back to life. Honey, we're going to have a big crawfish boil for the whole block when we return from our honeymoon trip from Lake Charles. I can't wait to check out those gambling riverboats. From now on, it's first class all the way, baby.
That's a lot of in-laws.
It's not happening. I have many devoted fans who would do anything for me. Yes, they would even kill. While I know some of them enjoy imagining themselves as part of such drama, I don't condone taking those thoughts into action. I could have easily murdered Pierre Dupree and staged a crime scene that no detective could solve. But I am not a killer. Luckily, I don't have to worry about Pierre anymore. I hope Gator and Alexis will be better neighbors than Pierre was and respect my fans. I'd love to take both of you to lunch and discuss the future of Dupree Chateau. I'm prepared to make you a very sweet offer. Wouldn't you like to leave this whole ugly experience behind you and begin your married life together in a brand new house?
Alright, I gotta admit, I am the murderer. I've been stealing from Pierre's Precious Dupree Historical Foundation to pay for the restoration of Peak Mansion. Pierre discovered this earlier today and confronted me. He told me he was going to write me out of his will and report me to the police. I pled with him to forgive me, but he wouldn't listen. The Mardi Gras necklace was on the table. I grabbed it and strangled him before I could even think about what I was doing. I ran back downstairs to the party and tried to act natural afterwards. Today, Pierre discovered I was stealing from his precious Pierre Dupree Historical Foundation to pay for the restoration of Peak Mansion. I had no choice. I needed the cash to keep my dream alive. Do you think it's easy living on the richest street in the Garden District? My home is falling apart all around me. Why shouldn't I enjoy the same luxuries as my neighbors? I worked night and day for the old man. He owed me. I deserved the money Pierre set aside for that foundation. Technically, my home is a historical building, and it deserves to be restored to its former glamour. My plans for Peak Mansion would have made Kanika's house and the Dupree Chateau look like mere garden sheds. I didn't plan to murder Pierre. He called me into the billiards room and presented me with a copy of the check I cashed for $150,000. I thought the copy that self-centered chef found was the only one, but I was wrong. I guess the bank sent him another one, and he must have been going through the bank statements before the party. I had hoped that if I did get caught, Pierre would be more sympathetic. I was wrong. I was being completely written out of his will. He told me that as soon as he took his new will to the courthouse, he was going to the police station to press charges for embezzlement. Not only was I losing my job, but I would be disbarred and face jail time if I was convicted. I needed to do something. My thumb's in the way. That would keep Pierre's mouth shut for good. I pled with Pierre to forgive me. He wouldn't listen. I saw the Mardi Gras necklace on the table, grabbed it and strangled him before he even realized what I was doing. I ran back downstairs to the party and made sure that everyone in the house thought I had to arrive through the front door. I was hoping that since Pierre had so many enemies, the police would never suspect his best friend. I'll take out a second mortgage on Peak Mansion to fight this case. I'm friends with the best lawyers in Louisiana, so I shouldn't have a problem. I was temporarily insane. I'll beat this rap. Just wait. The end.
Dick, you guessed it, so I'll have a prize. I'll bring you a prize today. Thank you all for sitting through this with us. This was our first time performing, so we will try to have another one sometime that'll be even better. Help yourself to the cigarettes on the table. They are actually pretzels dipped in almond bark. And there's brownie bites, cookies, mixed nuts, and wine. So you guys can just...
And blood punch.
And blood punch, yes. So you can get your picture with the murderer or whoever, Gator.
Or Pierre.
Or Pierre.
Pierre.
He's a little tired at the moment. All right, thank you guys.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you very